introduce, well, Mark, you introduce yourself as well, because myself and Mark, as organisations and individuals, are working together on Taith. So, Mark, you fill in and introduce yourself as well.
Thank you, Kay. Yes, certainly. So Mark Baines, Head of Curriculum and Performance for Adult Learning Wales / Gweithdy Cymru, which is a mouthful for a name for an organisation, but that's what we are, Pan Wales providers of adult education.
Brilliant. And Willie, nice to see you. I'm glad you found your way back here.
Right, I did.
I mean, we're small enough, so we'll make a start, and maybe a few others will kind of join us as well. But we're a small enough group, aren't we, just to make some introductions and to keep it informal as well. Obviously, you know, from what we've had is a lot of kind of one-way information, which I think has been really useful. And I've written loads of notes about kind of potential ideas for linking and things like that. And I guess it's an opportunity to dig a little bit deeper and to have a little bit more of an informal discussion. Perhaps there are questions about a bit more of the kind of application process for Taith, or what's coming down the line and opportunities to apply. Or I'm sure after both Andrea's and Willie's inputs into the other session, lots of questions about, you know, the work that they do as well, and how that might link with the work that we all do. So I'm Kay Smith. I'm Head of Campaigns and Development at Learning and Work Institute. Work on a range of projects. Adult Learners Week is one of the main things that I do, and the Inspire Award. So I was really interested in what Willie said about learning festivals, and what Jenny said earlier in the day about Adult Learners Week in Australia. I also do work around ESOL and a whole range of stuff. Got really interested in family learning as well. But so that's me. Richard, shall I come to you? You're the next on my screen.
I am Richard Spate. I'm the area learning development organizer for Unison in North Wales, but cover, along with my colleague Jenny, the whole of Wales, running our Wales Union Learning Fund project. Previous experience working on Erasmus Plus project, particularly the Inclusive project, which was with the Volkshochschule in Baden-Württemberg, and also helped put together a previous adult learning dysgu Cymru project, which was on Erasmus Plus as well. I'm just really interested in Taith, not this time, not this year, but maybe next year, and creating links with other organisations. We have an idea, a nascent idea around social care and environment. And so we'll be really interested in anyone's views on on environmental and climate change related learning that also has a link into public services, health, social care, education, all that.
Sorry, I'm muted. Sorry, Mark, do you want to come in again?
Not really, Kate. I mean, I will. Sorry, yeah. I'm okay. So what you asked me is just
just to introduce. But yeah, you have done that, so that's fine, Mark. Thank you. Anna, shall I come to you?
Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. My name is Anna Knight. I work for Deeside Community Trust, so adult learning across Flintshire and Wrexham, so North East Wales. It's been really interesting this morning to hear from all the speakers about all the really exciting things that are going on and all the things we can learn from by building more connections and more networks. I'm working on a Learn a Voice project at the moment, but my background is very much training and development within the private sector. So I'm always very interested to hear how organisations have been collaborating with the private sector and how we can look for ways to mutually benefit across sectors.
Great, thank you, Anna. And I guess a couple of things that Willie said that I remember probably resonate with your areas of interest there. That's really interesting.
Absolutely, yeah.
And Learn a Voice I'd like to have a chat to you about as well. So great. Claire, do you want to say hello?
Yeah, hi everybody, I'm Claire Richardson. I'm actually part of the Taith team. I'm project officer for adult education and school sectors. It's a new role, so I'm still kind of finding my feet in terms of what I'm going to be looking to achieve. But obviously I'm mainly here to kind of help engage new applicants, people who want to apply, people who want more information, but also support beneficiaries who've received funding. So kind of I'm here as a middle person to help support you in anything that you need, really. So if ever you need help, either myself, Kay or Mark, we're always here to help any one of us. Just give us a call, send us a message, and we'll help you out.
Brilliant. And I think that's what's really good about the programme in Wales, isn't it? And how the Taith team have set it up. It really is a kind of two-way process in terms of developing the programme together and getting the most out of it, isn't it? And I think from our perspective, we're just really keen that the adult learning sector in its kind of broadest kind of form, it really does engage and makes the most of it. So Loveday, really nice to see you. Haven't seen you for a while, but really nice to see you back. And yeah, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Hi Kay, it's great to see you, and hi everyone, it's lovely to see you and to meet you. My name's Loveday Williams, and I work for gyfer Cymru National Museum Wales. My role is as one of the senior learning and participation and interpretation officers. It's a crazy job title. But basically I focus on adult and community learning and informal learning, lifelong learning, whatever we want to call it, family learning, anything really that doesn't fall under formal learning and the schools programme that we run across the organisation. So I'm based at St Fagans, which is the National Museum of History. Apologies, I've got a barking dog and I've got my 5-year-old daughter in the other room off school ill, so I'm sorry for the background noise. Yeah, so I focus on that, and I'm going to mute now because my dog is being a pain. So this is really interesting to hear from everybody today. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Nice to see you. I think we've all coped with barking dogs and barking children and various things over the last few years. So the dog's welcome as well. I think we've been joined with Andy and Howell as well. So Andy, we're just in really brief introductions. So welcome and nice to see you. And do you want to say a little bit about you and your interest in being here today?
Morning, everyone. I'm Andy Phillips. I work for RCT Council. I manage the employability programs within the council, but I also chair the adult community learning group. So that's my interest in being here today.
Brilliant. Thanks, Andy, and nice to see you. And Howell, do you want to say hello and introduce yourself? Okay, so yeah. Okay, no worries, Howell. His microphone doesn't seem to work, so that's fine. If it does end up working, then just please come on in and join us. But that's fine. So, kind of how do you want to play this? We've got some time, and I said before when everyone joined, you know, kind of now time for an informal chat, asking Andrea and Willie a few more questions about the work that they do, having a chat together about opportunities within Taith. So we've got the kind of freedom to do that. But I maybe wondered if we kind of kick off a little bit more. Perhaps I'll come to Willie and Willie, just ask you to perhaps just to give us a little bit more detail about the work that you're doing in Cork and across Ireland. Would that be okay?
Yeah, no problem. The shared Ireland idea is very new, and the beauty for us is that it gives us a solid foundation now to be able to do things financially. And when there's seed funding provided, we can explore ideas like this today and tomorrow. We have coming from Belfast and Derry. We can accommodate them. We can do all those kind of things, explore ideas before we actually make a submission. And that's very rare to be able to have that kind of money. The type of projects we're talking about then are more community-based. We have similarities in, we're both on rivers. And one project that seems to be developing nicely has to do with currachs, the old rowing boats. And we have a community in Cork who are building those boats. We have a group in Belfast and Derry who do similar work. And it's trying to develop small projects like that, but grow them into something more meaningful and substantial, and maybe provide real serious resources for those groups, so that they can continue. That's just one of the projects. We've also, over the years, established links with the cities on simple community events. In Belfast particularly, they have another festival, and we link with those. They come down to our festival, we go up to theirs, and we bring young people on those trips with us. So they have a sharing of ideas, they're meeting other community people, and from a Belfast point, that's very important, where they have quite a divided community. And the whole thing really is based on participation and collaboration between these groups. But I think what works best for us is that in Cork City, the links between the City Council and the educational groupings and the Health Service Executive and the National Association of Principals and Deputies, these different groups coming together, working for a common cause. We've been a great facilitator of that. And it was surprising how little opportunities these groups had for coming together usually. They just worked in silos. But now they have the network developed, they share ideas, and the relationships have built up quite strongly between the key people in these organizations. And it works much better for us then. But a lot of it comes down to just the relationships, the links between people to make things happen.
Thanks, Willie. And any questions for Willie? Because I mean, you spoke a lot, didn't you, about, which I really, very interested to hear about, the learning neighbourhood approach, obviously the learning cities. We've only got Swansea in Wales, which has kind of taken up that mantle as a learning city, which I don't know why, and I don't know how active the Swansea Learning City is currently, but it just seems to me that kind of approach of collaboration across an area where you can bring all the key partners in place together. You can really think about how you're reaching people in neighbourhoods. Just seems to be a really interesting way of getting that kind of culture of lifelong learning, or finding out what people really want, or really kind of getting that engagement into the areas that you really want to reach. So again, I don't know if anybody's got any questions for you, or if you want to say anything more about that, because you mentioned the community mentor as well. It just seems you've got lots of things going on that as a whole package kind of I think really move people from that kind of not knowing where to go about learning, or being afraid to engage, to actually having a vehicle that perhaps moves people back into learning. And a key thing for Wales currently is driving up participation in adult learning, and really trying to give people the confidence to engage.
Can I just add an observation, I guess, from my perspective, just listening to Willie, to what you were saying there, and about the benefits of having funding available now to bring partners together to explore ideas. I mean, that sounds fantastic. I mean, that ability to actually, get people around the table to come up with a proposal and to be able to fund that from the outset. Wow, the benefits of doing that, I imagine, must be pretty significant. And I have to be honest, that's a fund that you don't really hear of. You don't really get that opportunity from a funding perspective to bring people around the table. So I imagine there must be some significant benefits of doing that. Now, I think one of the aspects of Taith is, which was apparent within the first part of the meeting, was the aspect that partner linking. People really want to identify partners that they can go and work with and link with. And I guess the question I've got, does the funding that you've got available, does that support international partners coming around the table to look at project ideas, or is it literally just in Ireland that those partners can come from?
Yeah, I think at the moment it's just Ireland. It's called the Shared Ireland Fund.
Right, okay, right.
And the main emphasis then is that between North and South.
Yeah, okay.
That's the only thing there.
But as a concept, that works. I can see that would work really well there. And I think if any funding ever became available for Taith or that type of activity from an international basis, I can see the benefits of bringing people around a table. Because I love, as much as I love seeing you all on screen, lovely bunch of people, I really benefit from being around the table. I've got to say, being around the table, seeing someone, and just having that dialogue and discussion around the table is so much more meaningful and beneficial for me. But I understand people, not everyone thinks the same. So
yes.
Brilliant. So I've got Loveday posted a question and also got your hand up, and then Richard. But Loveday, shall we come to you first?
Thanks, Kay. It was just to sort of second that, really, what Mark was saying. Yeah, I think the kind of coming together would be a brilliant opportunity if we can take this as an opportunity. Obviously, there's sustainability questions and all the rest of it in terms of crisis climate and the energy crisis and cost of living, all those things. But if it's doable, it's lovely to be in person, especially after the last couple of years. I also think it's a really good opportunity to showcase the potential venues, spaces, learning environments, and the different opportunities that are out there across the different sectors. And I think that's a real strength of Taith, as we've been hearing this morning, is it is multi-sector. We in the museum sector, for instance, as you I'm sure are all aware, we do a lot of work, collaborative work with adult learning partners, with community learning partners, with schools, with education throughout, and also very closely with for us anyway, with National Museum Wales. We're a public funded body, so Welsh Government funded. So there's a very strong strategy link there as well, around education, Welsh language, you know, Future Generations Act, all the rest of it. And for us, I know that in terms of Taith, you know, we're not likely, I don't think, to apply directly, but what we can offer is a supportive, collaborative partnership for those who do apply. Yeah, sorry, I'm going to mute again. It's my little daughter. One sec.
That's fine. We'll pick that back up with Loveday when she comes back in, because that might tie into what Howell's posted in the chat as well about cross-sector collaboration and partnerships, which are really welcomed with the Taith. So Loveday, if you want to come back in now, otherwise we come back to you.
Yeah, sorry, just one of those balancing, juggling acts today. It's like going back to 2020. We didn't have a dog then, though, so so yeah, I just think you know, we can be a host. We can be, obviously, you know, simple things like a visiting venue for any kind of mobility exchange, but we can also be much more active collaborators in terms of developing learning programs, and that's what we do within National Museum Wales and across the sector. For ourselves, National Museum Wales, there's a funny sort of statistic that gets trotted out quite a lot, but it's normally in relation to schools, but we're the largest provider of learning outside the classroom in Wales. So we do a lot from the early years, from preschool all the way through, and to lifelong learning. And adult learning is something that we're now really investing in, because for many years our school programme has been really well recognised, which is brilliant, and it has grown and developed in that time. COVID, you know, lots has changed, so we now offer a fully blended schools learning programme, virtual and physical. But the adult learning areas is, I suppose, have been more kind of ad hoc, more reactive, more sort of hit and miss, and it's very variable across our different sites across Wales, because all our different museums are very unique and very different, and our capacity and things is different accordingly. But at the moment, following a large strategy development for the organisation, Gyfer 2030, which was actually kind of the development of that was done during COVID. It was planned, you know, large scale consultation, and it all had to go online. So we did still do that large scale consultation across the whole of Wales, but virtually. And from that now we have our newly published strategy for the next 10 years for the organisation. And obviously learning was a core part of that in its entirety, but something that was really interesting that came from that was the need to develop an adult and community learning programme that was seen and recognisable and visible and relevant. You know, we are recognised as a schools learning provider, or a children's learning provider, if you will, but maybe not so much for adult and community learning, and that's actually what we can be, and that has grown massively in the last 10 years, but maybe not visibly enough. So it's just I'm trying to be an advocate really for the sector as a whole in Wales, and also for Cymru. And I know, you know, we have active partnerships with Institute of Learning and Work, with Adult Learning Wales, with Cardiff and Vale College. You know, we've worked with many of the people on the call today, but the international links are fascinating too, and there's a lot of opportunity there. Thanks.
Brilliant, thank you. And I mean, if I just pick one of the sites, St Fagans offers the most amazing venue or opportunity to host activities as part of any exchange would be amazing. Rich, we'll come to you.
Yeah, it was to kind of pick up on both of, well, it was originally to pick up on Mark's theme about the importance of getting people together to exchange ideas. Just coming back to previous experience with the Volkshochschule and the other partners on the Inclusive project that I ran in the mid 2010s. That came from an Acorus, which is the organisation that used to run the Erasmus in the UK. Event in Brighton, where we all just basically got around the table, went around different tables, pitching ideas, seeing who was interested in what, continuing it in the bar afterwards, creating personal relationships that were actually the basis upon which the 12 partners we had, which was a big group, but you know, it was facilitated through that kind of event. But I do share the concerns around, you know, the moving, you know, 100 representatives of 100 organizations into a hotel somewhere in Wales is very carbon intensive activity, and as important as those personal connections are, I think it's going to be an interesting balancing act to have that justifiable in terms of our organizations' contributions to global warming, and the kind of benefit from that. So maybe there are more engaging virtual ways of doing the similar things that we might want to explore. And I don't know if that's something that the Taith program is exploring in terms of how these things are facilitated. I know we've got the Catalunya conference coming up in December, and I'm really looking forward to that, because the colleagues from Catalunya who was talking before were talking our language in terms of exactly what their organisation is aimed at in terms of the use of like scent wagons and things like that. And I do think there's a stream that maybe we need to look at, and it hits on some of the themes from Adult Learning Wales and the National Museums, is engaging non-traditional lifelong learners through working class history as well. And obviously that's something that is core of the National Museum in Llanberis, which is near where I am, which is all working class history, is all the industrial history of North Wales. Haven't had the chance to explore St Fagans beyond the wonderful auditorium that we had the Adult Learning Awards in the other week, which was fantastic. But I think in involving working class communities, and I know we've got people from Wrexham, Deeside, and people from RCT, using the heritage and the history of those areas, which is through organisations like the organisations that built Adult Learning Wales, the Workers' Educational Associations, that kind of idea of mutual self-help and working class communities and people learning together is something I think that is also something that we have in common with the Volkshochschulen and other adult learning organisations across the world, really. It's that tradition of kind of working class people supporting each other through learning. And I think there's themes there that I think we could take forward in some ways. I don't know, I'm not, it's a very kind of vague contribution, sorry, but I just think that there are ways that we can engage people, and that we should be trying to get, I think my overall point is we should be trying to get groups of people who do jobs that are not necessarily represented in this room, like social care workers, like NHS workers, like people who work in childcare, cleaners in schools, porters in hospitals. Those are the people who we represent as a trade union, who are vital members in our communities, and they often miss out on training at work, but they also don't have a lot of time and resources to engage in wider learning these days. And so I just think there's a way of working that we can kind of learn from one another across countries about how you engage these different communities. Because I have to say I was so impressed with the Volkshochschule and how it works, and some of the kind of the the way it operates, I thought was really impressive. For example, I visited a big building, I can't remember where it was, Andrea, a really big college where it had like, there were people doing art, there was people doing languages, a wonderful facility which seemed to be the hub of the community in a way that I don't think we necessarily always see across Wales. So yeah,
thank you, Richard.
That's me talking. Sorry.
There's loads in there, isn't there? We'll bring Andrea in now, and I think kind of slightly off your point as well, but just wondered what, you know, there's an ambition of Taith to get more people and to widen access to mobilities, to kind of have that experience of going and experiencing another country, another culture, etc. And any views? I mean, I'll ask the question, perhaps park it, but the ambition about how we get more adults to engage in mobilities and how we make that happen, or, you know, if that's something that you know, through all of your projects is something that is realistically, you know, something that we're able to do. You know, if you compare the mobility of students in HE and FE, that's become a kind of part of a norm now, where that mobility is embedded into a lot of the curriculum there. And is that going to be possible for adults, and how do we achieve that is kind of one of the questions that I've got as well. But Andrea, please come in and perhaps say a little bit more about the work that you do.
Yes, I just wanted to jump in, and I have a lot of things to say now. So maybe I start with, because I wanted to respond or pick up what Richard just said. Well, first of all, I think all these international corporations, Richard always mentions this inclusive project where we were together. And yeah, interesting enough that in this project, we dealt with two things. So one was digitalization of learning, and the other one was involving disadvantaged learners. And you see, that was like 10 years ago, I think, a very long time ago, but it was a very innovative issue that we dealt with there. And this is exactly what we are still working on now. We as Volkshochschulen in that project, we did language classes via Skype. So, I mean, obviously during COVID, we now are really professionals in that way, but that was the first time we tested it. So I think these corporations, especially international corporations, we can really use them a lot to try some innovative things that we wouldn't do, just to try out things. And disadvantaged learners, as I told you just now, we have a mobility going on with disadvantaged learners upstairs now at the moment. And again, still we profit from that project, because also there we started to explore how that could work. And yes, I mean, it is definitely also in our schools. Maybe I come back to that. In fact, our schools are really based on community level, pretty well known in our region, or in Germany in general. We have a strong brand, we can say. So everybody on the street, if you say Volkshochschule, they would know, ah, yes, that's adult education. In our case, not only adult education, we also have a lot of offers for children and really old people. So we really cover the whole range. Pretty well known, and as Richard said, situated really in the centers of the city, and of course in a way that makes life easier. So people have somewhere in their bucket that there is a place they can go. And I already mentioned that, for example, we are really the first place where migrants would go, and that is also good for us. I mean, then they know us from the beginning. They know they can learn the language there, but they can also take school exams there. And yeah, also if it comes to disadvantaged people, for example, the school exam classes we offer for adults, also there we come into contact with people who are maybe in a way disadvantaged. And now we try to engage them into mobilities. It's a bit challenging. It's a lot of work, a lot of organizational work, of course, but if it then happens, it's really good. It's fantastic. And as for, I would say, adults in general, we now have, since Erasmus Plus as the European project for mobilities now is open to adults as well. We have a lot of interest in Erasmus Plus. We can only, only disadvantaged people can participate, but we have a lot of interest. So I have a lot of English classes, for example, calling me up and say, we would like to do an Erasmus as an English language class and go abroad. There is big interest. We can't help everybody in Erasmus Plus, but there is definitely interest in international mobilities. Yeah. So that was maybe some remarks from my side. Also a big mixture of things, but yeah, maybe as a start for a conversation.
Thank you. And Howell, I can see you now. I don't know whether you can use your microphone or if you're still on chat, but if you want to come in, then just please do. I'm guessing you might still be, he's writing in the chat, he's still got problems. Yeah, mic's still not working. Claire, I don't know whether, I don't want to put you on the spot really, but just thinking about kind of, you know, thinking ahead for the Taith team really, and obviously partner linking seems to be an area where, you know, a lot of the network across Wales would like more support or help with. And Richard has mentioned the event that he went to in Brighton, where that was kind of a physical event sounded a bit like speed dating actually, Richard. So but do you want to come into with
it was.
Yeah, with any more thoughts on that and how we do partner linking? You know, I guess we've started the ball rolling with today, haven't we? We've got the event on the 15th of December as well. Thoughts and ideas from anybody really about how we do more of this, but perhaps make the most of the technology that we've got with perhaps a mixture of some physical face-to-face stuff as well. But Claire, come in if you'd like to.
Yeah, thanks, Kay. And I'm going to be brutally honest, we haven't had a huge opportunity to explore this. We know definitely that this is a barrier that people are facing, and it is somewhere where we want to kind of progress and make some changes, and look to kind of create some of these, you know, more stronger links internationally. But we're not there yet. Obviously, I don't know how much people know about the Taith programme, but obviously it is a fairly new programme, and we kind of hit the ground running, trying to kind of develop the programme whilst obviously still offering these mobilities almost kind of straight away. So it's an area where we're definitely looking to explore and to engage further with these international partners, but we're not there yet. And it's finding the right ways of having those conversations with international partners and finding those links for people. But it is definitely, like I say, something that we are going to be looking to explore, especially now myself and my other colleagues who are project officers for the different sectors. We're all kind of starting now. So it's somewhere where we're definitely going to be progressing. But if anybody's got any ideas, we'd be grateful to hear them, absolutely.
Yeah, great. Thank you. And Lovedale, do you want to come back in?
Yeah, thanks, Kate. It was just really briefly on some of the sort of language provision and support. And I know that, Andrea, you've spoken a lot about the work you do around German as a second language, for example, and I'm sure that that's an area, you know, a sort of home nation language as a second language, for want of a better expression, that many providers do and offer. And it's more kind of critical now than ever in many ways with the refugee crisis and all the movement of people. So for many years now, for quite a long time, we've had a close working relationship with partners who support ESOL learners, so English language as a sort of development for normally refugees and asylum seekers coming into Wales. And we've done quite a lot of work with Cardiff and Vale College previously, and also now with Adult Learning Wales. And we have resources for the museum at St Fagans that were developed in collaboration with ESOL learners some years ago. And this last year, have been parts of the strategy and the sort of prominence now that adult learners being given within the museum, we've been able to develop resources for ESOL learners for 3 of our other museums across Wales, with a view or an aim to develop them for all 7 museums that we run across Wales. So we are just in the process of a sort of carrying out a little bit more of a trial and a pilot using those new resources. So therefore the National Slate Museum in North Wales, the National Waterfront Museum in Swansea, and the National Roman Legionary Museum in Caerleon, just outside of Newport. And then my aim is to publish the ESOL resources and the sort of programme alongside that and launch that in maybe April or sort of Easter time 2023. So it's just a kind of another kind of plug, I suppose, which I probably should stop doing, but it's just that thing around partnership and collaboration, that obviously there's many providers in the room today, and you're working and providing a lot of these learning opportunities, and always look to the sort of cultural sector, I suppose, if you're looking for ways in which we talked about enhancing or kind of making the learning experience a bit more exciting. And Rich, I know you were talking about that in terms of moving to a virtual space, but in a more kind of exciting way, potentially for you know, partner meetings, but equally for learning opportunities. And I know that in the session earlier on, that we talked about engaging with people online, and I think Willie, it may have been Willie who mentioned the issues of some communities or some audiences just not being interested in that online space and in learning digitally. Again, you're sort of using the content of museums or cultural partners, libraries, and all the things we've talked about as kind of like a hook, so we can get the learning in through the back door, but using it by sort of selling the opportunities that, you know, you can engage with things that they may potentially be interested in or might not have had an opportunity to do previously, or whatever the hook might be, and then get in those digital essential skills, for example. So it's just sort of sharing a little bit of what we might be able to support with. Thanks, Kay.
Thank you, Loveday. And Andy and Anna, I don't know if either of you want to come in. Andy, I know you asked a question when we were in the main session there about making those links with employers and trying to get kind of Willie's advice on that. And whether, Willie, you want to say more about that, or Andy, you want to follow up with that?
Sorry, I'm going to have to shoot off in a minute. I've got another meeting I've got to go to. I really do apologise. It's been really useful for me. Yeah, one of the things that we want to do is encourage learners within the workplace, and it's something that we found really difficult in RCT, to engage with the businesses and to sort of get them to buy in and recognise the how useful it is to actually make space for learning within the work environment. That's what it was all about, really.
Yeah. It's been one of the hardest nuts for us to crack, I think. And it's taken just knowing a handful of people in key places in companies who are willing to take part. That simply was the start for us. Get them to bring an employee with them to a breakfast meeting, get the employee to speak for literally 3 minutes max. What they do, how they do it. And these kind of things were the start for us, where we saw the potential. This is the link. But for the Chamber of Commerce to really buy into it, it's been a long road. And we're still not there by any means. Yeah, I'm very conscious of that.
I think that's the thing, Willie, that, you know, getting them to see the benefit of it is the challenge that we have.
That's right.
And if we can break that down, I think we can really make a difference there. And and progress that thing. It's with my other hat on around employability, we have a program of in-work support where we're trying to upskill those who are maybe on minimum wage or 0-hour contracts and give them opportunities. That brings a whole new thing, because employers don't always want those people upskilled, because it'll move them out of where they are now. You know, so yeah, I'm really sorry that I've got to go, but thank you ever so much for this. It's been really useful from my perspective, and I hope we have lots more of them.
Brilliant. Thank you,
Andy. Guys. And, thank you.
Yeah, we'll see you soon. Take care. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you. And I realise we are running over time. We started a bit late. I know Andrea's got to shoot off as well, and you know, certainly, you know, I can hang on for a few moments until 12:45. But Andrea, do you want to say anything else just before you have to go?
Yeah, unfortunately, I have to go now. Yeah, I just wanted to stress that I would be really happy to somehow cooperate with some of you, all of you. We did that in the past. We heard that, and I think there are good opportunities. The only thing is that our Erasmus program now doesn't cover Wales anymore, so that's a problem for us. But I think there are still options to cooperate. So we would be really looking forward to working with one of you soon. yeah. So
there definitely are options, and the Taith programme allows for some funding to come to you as a partner organisation to come and have some mobility into Wales, etc. So there are definitely possibilities there. And actually, the point you made about migrant education and fast track pathways into employability, that all really resonates with a review that we've just done about ESOL in Wales. So I know providers in Wales are kind of thinking about how they think a bit more flexibly about ESOL provision in Wales, about fast track courses, perhaps some sector specific stuff. So I think there's lots to follow up with you, Andrea, on that as well. So
yeah, okay, yeah. So yeah, we would really appreciate that. So it sounds good.
yeah, great.
Okay.
Thank you ever so much for joining us.
Yes, have a good conference and see you soon, hopefully. Bye.
Thank you. Great. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, we've got a couple more minutes, I guess. So, I mean, Anna, I don't want to put you on the spot, but is there anything you want to pick up on the discussion or the areas of interest that you're working on, or you're, you know, keen to follow up?
A few things that I might follow up at a later date once I've been back to base and discussed with colleagues. I'm really interested in what Rich was saying about the involvement of workers, because I think when we talk about cross-sector collaboration, we often forget about the private sector. And my background, as I mentioned, is private sector, and I think there are lots of opportunities to be explored there. So I'm certainly keen on perhaps talking to Rich again, and well, everybody again. It's been great to meet everybody. Willie as well talked about community mentors and also the breakfast meetings and how they're developing those. I think those ideas really interest us in Wrexham and Flintshire, in terms of some of the work we're starting to do with the private sector. So yeah, some really useful ideas and input from people that I'm really grateful for this morning, and look forward to speaking to people again, I hope.
Great, that's really good. Thank you, Anna. And definitely we'll follow up with you, and yeah, and I'm sure we will kind of plan and do some sessions like this again in the future. And I think, message for today is that I'm here, Mark's here, Claire is here, Walter and the team around Taith. So, come back and have those discussions. And if you're kind of wanting a bit of advice on who's out there internationally to try and link with, we can try and help. We haven't got all of the connections, but we have got some. And we can also kind of think about project ideas with you, but also connect you to others across Wales, really, who, again, might be interested in collaborating in certain ways with you. And Taith does allow for that cross-sector approach as well. So, it could be across FE, could be adult education, it could be HE, schools, youth. So there's lots of opportunities. Does anybody else want to add a final couple of words? Willie, please. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks very much for the invitation. I enjoyed it this morning, listening to what's happening, particularly the Taith project. Really interesting stuff in your own approach to it. And Cork and Swansea have always been very close. We had a ferry for many, many years going over and back between Cork and Swansea, the Innisfallen, and we are close, except when it comes to rugby. That's another story. So I'd be happy to link up with anybody there. If we can have anything to offer or share with you, we'd be delighted.
Yeah, thank you, Willie. Don't mention the rugby. We managed to throw away a lead to Australia on Saturday. I've got no idea how that happened. and we've got the football dread tonight, so it could go amazingly, or it could go really badly. But yeah, brilliant. And Willie, I mean, again, we'll share the slides and the notes for today. And if are you happy for your contact details to be shared if anybody comes to us and asks them? That's great. Yeah. Brilliant.
Okay.
Well, unless there are any more questions or anybody else wants to come in, we'll close the session down. But I just want to say thank you to everybody who's participated today. I found it really useful, and I hope you have too.
Thank you all. Really helpful.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you.
See you. Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you, Willie. Nice to see you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Kate.
Diolch.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye, Howell.